I wanted to talk to you guys a quick second about gear selection for Men's Alliance during the wintertime. Uh, I'm in Pennsylvania, so it gets kind of cold. We don't get a whole lot of snow. Usually if we do, it's a wet snow. We do have a super cold wind because it's very humid. So when it comes up to wintertime, the quality of your gear is going to matter, and excuse me one sec, and the layering is going to matter. So what I'm wearing right now, it's raining here. Just went for a run. I am going to talk a lot about Under Armour, and while it's not American made, they do make really tough stuff, and it's geared towards, I'll call it like serious athletes, right? So this one in particular is a Storm version. The front of it and the back is water repellent, right? And it has infrared on the inside, meaning it's going to trap some of your heat on the inside and breathe fairly well, but not incredibly well. So for running today, you get wet on the inside from your sweat because rain gear can't let that out. So rain is one thing. However, if it's not raining, you really want to layer. And so that is, you can get started, you're a little chilly, but kind of warm. And as you're running through the exercises, you can start stripping off your hat, strip off your outer layer, and maybe even a pair of leggings. My rule is once it gets below, I think like 34, I put on running tights, right? Either joggers or running pants, because I don't want my knees, my ankles, and my hamstrings getting cold while I'm working out. I want to make sure they stay warm. So it's not just a matter of like, can I stand it? It's a matter of how do I avoid injury? When it comes to undergarments, if we're going to be doing a lot of plyometrics or running, I'll wear like a tight fitting compression jock. Other times I just wear like a loose boxer just to keep airflow, especially in the summertime. A lot of that depends on what you're doing, exercise wise, right? Glove wise, you want something that's going to block the wind in the cold, and you're going to be in contact with the ground a lot. So like this right now is a merino wool. I would not wear this to a Men's Alliance workout, simply because it breathes too much. It's meant to be like a liner or something like that as a run. So again, Under Armour has like a Storm version of their gloves, infrared on the inside, so it'll help protect your hands. Anything tight fitting is really good, but unfortunately tight fitting is then usually cold. So depending on what you're doing, you might have to strip your gloves off quick. Shoes are super important. Hopefully you can see that. I am wearing a merino wool sock. This is darn tough. Yes, they're $20 a pair. However, this pair is probably 4 or 5 years old. In wintertime, I run on them. I run through creeks. And even though I'm running through the creek, when I come out, my foot, once the initial shock and pain wears off, the merino wool wicks the sweat and the water away, and my foot warms up right away. So a merino wool thick sock in the wintertime is absolutely necessary. I am going to drop into footwear right now. So again, this is a company called Altra out in Salt Lake City, I believe. When I first started working out and running, I had incredible pain in my knees and had trouble getting over it. And what I found was every shoe that I was wearing had like a 12 millimeter drop, heel to toe. So what that means is your heel is up here and your toes are down here, right? So that's bad. As you're running, that's going to make you have a heel strike more so than ever. A heel strike is going to put a lot of jar into your knee and your hip and your ankles and everything else. It's going to make life very painful. So you want to go to a zero drop shoe. Innovate, INNOV-8, English company that makes a really light, super aggressive tread, and we can talk about tread too, but Innovate makes a zero drop shoe. Altra, ALTRA, makes a zero drop shoe. And to be honest, it's really hard to find a zero drop in Nike, Under Armour, New Balance. Those guys, they just aren't on that bandwagon yet. Merrell makes a couple of zero drops, but they're a very minimalist shoe, meaning they have no padding whatsoever. And so when we talk about padding, Altra, as an example, has 3 or 4 trail running shoes that have a super aggressive tread, but different levels of of cushioning, right? So you go with the King Mountain, no cushioning whatsoever, a little bit of cushioning. Then you go to like a Lone Peak, and then you go to a Superior, or it's the other way around, and then you go to the Olympus. I bruised a bone in my left foot a couple of years ago running on rocks, and I wear the Olympus right now most of the time because it has the most amount of cushioning, and that helps me heal. It also helps you heal from like plantar fasciitis. Now, the tread on those is super aggressive, so I can run in anything except ice with really good stick. And so when we're working out at Men's Alliance, if your team or your tribe is working out in grass, you probably want one of the trail shoes that has a super aggressive tread. Again, Innovate makes one called Eagle Claw. Ultra makes the King Mountain, Lone Peak, whatever. Craft Sportswear, CRAFT, also makes a really aggressive tread. I've never ran in those. I can't tell you anything about them. But if you're running on pavement, then you can go with more of a road shoe, right? And again, there's different levels of cushioning that you can look at. Now, you don't want a waterproof shoe because when your feet sweat, they're going to freeze as soon as you stop moving and sit down next to the fire. You want something that's going to breathe. Yeah, your foot's going to get wet, but if you're wearing that merino wool, you're going to be fine, right? Headwear, again, something that's going to trap the heat when you get started. Then you can strip it off, especially if you shave your head. You can strip it off as soon as the heat starts to build up. So that's it. I hope that helps. Also recommend a beard, help catch snot. So it's not just running down your face all obvious like. So post any questions, and I'll get back to you if you have any comments, suggestions. Please feel free to chime in. Hey, real quick, got in the car, realized I didn't talk about base layers, which is also very important. I was talking about what you do on legs, but when it comes to base layers, never ever wear cotton. So this is it's a running shirt. It was like a summertime, long sleeve shirt. I wore that underneath a rainproof today. I knew I was gonna be sweating underneath. I wanted to soak that off, but maintain a little bit of heat. When it gets cold, you may need like something like compression cold gear, something that really hugs your body, so you don't run into trouble with movements. It'll wick the sweat away, but yet maintain warmth, right? A lot of my running shirts will have like a call it a windproof panel in the front, and then it's vented in the back. And the idea is that when you're running, it's blocking the cold wind from hitting you, but the back is mesh or a little bit more breathable of a material, and that lets the heat get out, right? So you're protecting your core because you want to keep your heart and your lungs warm, right? If you can keep them warm, your body's going to circulate the blood flow to your extremities better. All right. If your core is cold, you're going to pull all the blood in from your hands and your feet and your legs, and you're either going to get injuries or frostbite. So you want to keep your core warm throughout the winter. Now, never video and drive either, kids, as a safety rule. Again, so something like a cold gear, and some of that has different levels of thickness. Cabela's, a bunch of other places have very, I'll call it technical clothing that is some form of a polyester with something else. For these workouts, I probably would not recommend a merino wool top because it's just the heat is going to get a little bit too much for you. You need something that's going to breathe a little bit better. So again, look into some of the running gear from some of the technical companies like Nike or Under Armour. I know both of those guys make pretty decent gear for this kind of layering. And typically on a Saturday morning, I'll start off with a running shirt that's a base layer, and then I'll have on a lightweight windproof jacket over top of that. And then on top of that, I'll throw like a super old fleece that I just have laying around, something I don't really care about whether or not it gets dirty, plus the hat, right? And then as I get started, the hat will come off first, or the fleece will come off first, and then you'll warm up a little bit more. 10 minutes into it, that outer jacket comes on. And then when you're sitting around the fire, you have layers you can start putting back on. So as you start to dry out, you can start throwing on those things that you stripped off earlier. But yeah, so base layers, make sure you're layering. Compression fitting would probably be better in the wintertime. and then have like 1 or 2 layers on top of that that you can start off with and then strip off. So hope that helps as well.